Dr Melanie Tervalon, merci d'être avec nous. Vous êtes médecin, éducatrice, militante communautaire et penseuse de renom, tant au niveau national qu'international. Votre vaste savoir-faire en médecine et en sciences sociales, en santé publique et en politique publique est enrichi non seulement par votre formation académique, exceptionnelle, et votre expérience professionnelle, mais aussi par les liens que vous avez tissés avec la rue, là où vivent les gens ordinaires et où se trouvent leurs triomphes et leurs défis. Bonjour Mélanie, merci d'être avec nous.
Bonjour Julie.
So we are there to celebrate women. We are there for this book that you accept to write la préface, as we said in French.
Oui.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
It's
much.
my honor. It's my honor.
So you read maybe 4 or 5 texts of those women.
Yes.
Let's talk about it, how you feel about it, how it interacts with your own story.
Yes. So there were many things that moved me about the several essays that I read. One was the theme that carried throughout about women coming to a point, each woman coming to a point where she realized she had been focusing on others and not focusing on herself. And this kind of awakening to what for me is a general recognition and a general awakening for women that society asks us to caretake everyone, to caretake society, to caretake the community, our parents, our children, and somehow we're dropped off that list of who gets taken care of. And yet in each of these stories, there seemed to come a moment when each woman woke up in a sense and understood that, yes, society has these boundaries around me, some of which I agree with, but the one that is making it not possible for me to be who I am, for me to listen to that voice inside of me, that several of the women referred to as intuition. That I think this was one of the important messages in these essays, to understand, yes, the trauma, the violence, and there's plenty of trauma and violence and despair and unhappiness throughout the essays, and yet to come to a point where it was important to say, let me be quiet enough to listen to what's inside of me, and to also be able to understand when one's able to hear that, to think about what are going to be the consequences of changing direction, which is what is required, to change direction, and understand that now I have to see, what are my dreams? What does my happiness look like? And what will the consequences be for me, and what will they be for those I love? And which includes my children, my parents, your partner, and society. And in that regard, I think there's great strength for women to understand that we influence society profoundly. There would be no society without us. Without the womb, where's humanity? And so those were the ideas that came through in a very strong way. And the way that each of these women found, no matter what the context of their story happened to be, they could hold on always to hope. And they held on to their own strength, and to understand the amount of strength and courage it took in each instance to walk away from whatever the most difficult and terrible and often horrible circumstances they found themselves in. I'll say at a personal level, for me, the theme that was intense, though not true for each of the essays, was the reckoning with the fact that, I'll say for myself, I decided to make a choice in my life about what to do, which had to do with going back to school. And I think in each of these, for me, I could hear the place of a woman who is not educated, is left without the resources to take care of herself financially, which is the place of independence in society for us as women from men. If I do not have to depend on someone else to buy my food or pay my rent or see that I have a bus pass, but I can do that all myself, there's a greater chance for me to find that freedom that I'm looking for, that ability to live my life on my own terms. And so I could feel that through each of these, some place to step away from what society and culture are demanding of us in whatever era we are born in. I'm older than you are, and it's a different era. Nonetheless, society is constructing how women should be. And the extent to which we eat that up, whole cloth, I feel like, is the extent to which we hurt ourselves. Because I'm not what society calls me. I am Melanie. I am Melanie with my own unique life and experience, which was the other piece about these that I loved so. Each essay is so unique, each story so different, and yet through each one of them, each woman at some point let me know who she was, what was important to her moving forward. Was it going to school? Was it being a dancer? Was it being an artist? And how that, which for me is the voice we find inside of ourselves that says, oh, no, I can't keep doing what I've been doing. This is not living. I thought they were very moving and just the right length, too, to read. I think that was more than you asked me, but...
No. It's exactly what we want to hear about it today. Yes, this makes me think about Adia too, who were so little when she find the power of going to school in the Niger, and we can feel that yes, she understand that school will help her being free and being independent, because it's like she was born with this inside, because she didn't have, this is really interesting, because she didn't have really example of women being educated or who have to go to school, but it was really, like we say, intrinsèque, like inné in her intuition. Oh yes, this is the way, and I can't see other way to go. So what I try to understand, choosing all those women, is to understand how, as you said, the education is not only education, it's more than that make women feel like you have to take care. And nobody tell you that you have to take care of you.
Yes. And that piece for me also came through in the way that in several of the essays, women either reached out to other women as a support, or kind of happened into some circumstance where they got support from another woman. And I think that this is a very important idea for us to remember as women all across the world. Yeah. We don't do it alone. We're not going to change how the world sees us as women alone. Melanie, me, talking to myself, writing to myself. It's important for us to be in community and in circles of sisterhood, really, to be able to talk about our frailties, the places where we're not really certain, our successes as well. And I would say also what is absent for us often is what you were talking about, having a model, having a woman who has been whatever it is we are trying to be. So I'm a doctor, I'm a physician, and that model for me when I was growing up happened to be my family doctor. We were poor, a different kind of story about how that person was a model for me. But I could remember as I got older, there are women who are doctors. There are women who are not just doctors, but they're caring doctors. She would actually talk with me, and ask me what I thought. And I think this is something that's often absent for us as well, if we don't know a woman who has traversed that whole educational system for that particular job, or to be a dancer. And what does it mean to enter into the entertainment industry? What are the barriers there, and what do they look like, and how do I approach them? And I think that's really important for young girls, for middle-aged women, for me as an older woman. and within that, for me too, it is, I learned somewhere maybe 30 years ago with something that happened to me in my life, that it was important for me to listen to women who were both older than me and younger than me. That at that particular time in my life, I needed guidance about what does it look like ahead of me. At 50 years old, when I thought I was so old then, and now I'm 74, and now I realize, I'm old now. but what is this? What do these next 5 or 10 years look like? And in a sense, I woke up in that moment and realized, any woman who is older than me, by even a day, has more experience in life than I have. And that's what I was looking for. Help me understand the complexities and the nuances and the experiences of life. And I have that sense now. I feel as though I'm not as prepared as I would like to be as a woman, 74, to understand what I might expect moving forward. I'm no longer practicing medicine. I'm still writing and still speaking and that, like that. But it's a different juxtaposition to the world. And so what is that going to look like? The main message from me there is I think it's important for women to have models and circles and community and really good friends too. There's nothing like a best girlfriend.
Yes, you're right. We said we use the word sororité in French because you get liberté, égalité, fraternité.
And what happened to sororité?
Yeah, so we put sororité, liberté, égalité, sororité. And it's like this movement where after being like, how can I say, separated, we start to move together. This is one of the message of this book too.
Yes.
We can come from a lot of different places and experiment the same stuff and feeling the same emotion and just being women together and share our experience of life. And you were talking about a barrier. How can I say that? You identified barrier from yourself in your life, inside and outside maybe.
Yes.
And you learn from other women. What were those barriers that you identified?
So for me, I think the internal barriers had to do with the struggle I have had for my entire life around identity. And for me, it's the combination of the identity of being a woman and listening to society's voice about how I should be, and knowing immediately I did not want to be that. I was not going to be someone's handmaiden or a person who is taking care of someone else's, all of their needs, without any attention to my own. So there was that conflict in the sense that I was brought up in a family, a Catholic family, and of course the expectation was that I was going to get married, and that's kind of societal constraints that at that time, and I think still exist, about what that means if you're a married woman. And so there's that internal conversation. And then you're looking at me right now. I'm very fair. I'm black. My eyes are blue. When I was young, my hair was blonde. And so there has been for me an ongoing and consistent struggle around racial identity. I've always been black. I've always called myself black. I grew up in the segregated United States, and my parents are from the South. And so I never had the conflict of am I black or am I white. The conflict for me was society's look at me, and then how society would react to me. And there was a long conversation in there, but a lot that has to do with, again, my appreciation of how the society makes definitions that then I'm supposed to agree with, whether I do or not. So those are two tensions I've carried with me, and barriers in some way to achieving who I wanted to be. And then the external barriers, I think I've spoken about those thus far, and I think in the main, for me, the external barriers have had to do with, I'll give you the very straightforward example of going to medical school in the 1970s, when even though women have been in medicine in the United States for many years, that's not exactly what I mean. It's the way you are received or not received. Did not want us there, made it clear they did not want us there. I happened to be pregnant my second year when I was in medical school, and one of the professors who wrote up his assessment of me, which each of them had to do for you, wrote in it, I don't know what she's doing here, she's pregnant. Like, how could he be allowed to even write that in my evaluation? But that was then. He was trying to send anybody who read it a message about me. So for me, the external barriers have to do with how women are seen. But I'd say in a broader sense for me, it is also that I live in the United States, in a capitalist country, where people are not at the center of what we're making decisions about. Money is. And I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I don't live like that. I don't want the world to be like that. I am so clear, as I have not many more years on the earth, I'm driven. What am I driven towards? I'm driven towards peace. I'm driving with everybody else who can get on this bus to get us to peace and equality and equity, and being certain that everyone, no matter their identity or the country they come from or the language they speak, that we are all respected equally. And this, of course, requires taking on the misogyny that exists, not just in the United States, but all over the world, that then constricts, contracts, kind of strangles our ability to be fully who we are. I'm here visiting, as you know, for a short period of time. And when I'm in France or other countries even, I often marvel at the way where I'll look at people and I say, you know, Melanie, you could have been born in that person's body. You happen to be born in this one. And it helps me tremendously to remember we are not different one from another. Strip off this outside part. Yeah. Same blood and muscles and veins and like that, which helps me stay centered on what my purpose in life remains to be at this point. And I think my sense of it, bias no doubt, is that that's been true for women for ages, for since we could begin to understand the role, the important and irreplaceable role that we play as women in society.
Yes, thank you so much, Melanie, for this message, and it's really, I think that yes, it will inspire a lot of women. Thank you so much. If you had just one last message that you want to share with women, really short, that can impact.
Yes, I would encourage every woman who's listening to this to be quiet for a moment and listen to the voice that's speaking to you inside of yourself, that is about your mind, your body, your spirit, and where you will find joy and happiness, to listen hard, to pay attention, and to make that dream come true.
Thank you so much, Melanie.